Nobody's arguing that the media is perfect or even particularly nice. But I would say that it's an inevitability in life. And there he is now, this pampered prince, proclaiming himself a spokesman for the world. That's what he called himself. And he sees it as his life mission, that's those exact words again, to rectify the media. Well, I'm not sure it's going to happen.
Quentin, is the Californian woo-woo-ness something that puts you off here, Quentin? I mean, you and Californian woo-woo-ness are not easy bedfellows, it strikes me.
Well, I think it's fair to say, watching this programme last night, English January, with the cold rain lashing at our windows, and there was the Duke of Sussex, is that his title, in a sun-kissed Montecito drawing room with opulent carpets and beautiful fittings, one that did accentuate the sense of a spoilt young man bemoaning his lot. This was a banquet of double standards, it really was. There he was complaining about intrusions on his privacy, and he himself was barging into the privacy of his brother and his family. And I just found the whole thing pretty grotesque, really.
Do you think, though, Quentin, you've been in the media a long time, is it important, though, for us in the media to recognise that there probably is some... I mean, again, even that Michael Strand clip I just played there, he immediately turned on the media. Any question you ask him, he says, well, it's the media's fault. Does the media need to accept a bit of responsibility here as well for the treatment of going back to Diana and then the treatment of Meghan? Do you think that's important for us to do that a little bit as well?
Undoubtedly. And the media, but certainly Fleet Street, a rough old place. Mind you, you could argue that tabloid television is even gloopier and worse. And also that social media these days, a complete wild land. Nobody's arguing that the media is perfect or even particularly nice. But I would say that it's an inevitability in life. And there he is now, this pampered prince, proclaiming himself a spokesman for the world. That's what he called himself. And he sees it as his life mission, that's those exact words again, to rectify the media. Well, I'm not sure it's going to happen.
No, he also said that if there was a reconciliation in the royal family, there would be a ripple effect all across the world. Well,
he also said, actually, he said in this programme last night, he thought a reconciliation, anything's possible, he said, and now he's just saying, you've just quoted him, we just heard him on an American programme saying he doesn't think it's possible. So the man's a complete mess. He doesn't make sense.
No, there are contradictions, I think, that have been revealed over the course of the last few hours. Jennie Bond, what do you make of this? Because this is someone you know pretty well. You know exactly the world he's describing. Does anything surprise you at this? And do you think he's doing this with a clear mind? Do you think he's conscious of the dangers of hypocrisy and being seen as spoilt, do you think?
I think he's doing it with rather a blinkered mind. I think, look, he's got mental health issues. He's open about that. He's had therapy, and that's really, really good. But I think the therapy has given, and he thinks the rest of the royal family should have therapy, he says, it's given him a very clear, but sometimes, in my view, not accurate focus on the way he sees things. And there's a lot of blame culture, as you say. I must say that watching it, I was pleased that I still found him likable. I know he's very damaged, and I'm glad he's in a better place. And everybody has sympathy for what he went through with his mother. But I think he is deluded. I think he's deluded, as you say, about he wants to save the United Kingdom from this evil of the press. And then, as you say, he wants the reconciliation of his family, if it happened, to ripple across the world. He's going to be the saviour of the world. It's very odd. And the other thing I thought was very conflicted is that he rails against his family for being complicit in not defending Meghan. And yet he says that he did not say his own family were racist when there were concerns raised about the colour of Archie's skin, how dark the tone would be. He said that wasn't racist, but he hung his family out to dry, didn't he? Because those were the headlines and have been ever since. And he had his own brother answering, are you a racist family? But why didn't he come forward and say, no, the press, who he blamed the press for that, the press have got it wrong. This is the truth.
Yeah, and actually, I think in the CBS interview, he went a bit further, implying that race maybe was something to do it. Because, as Quentin implied, that he's talked to two different audiences in the last few hours. Jennie, who advises Prince Harry? How does that work? I mean, is he now sitting in Montecito with people saying this is going terribly well? Do people say to him, this is a problem? How does he operate now, do you feel?
I think it's his PR team. He won't talk to people like me. He won't talk to any of the British press. But I think it's just his PR people around him, his team, who are badly advising him. And I find it very ironic. Another irony, which he doesn't seem to appreciate, is he said he came over to see the Queen last year to see that the right people were around her and she was protected. Well, he certainly hasn't got the right people around him. He needs guidance because he's unleashed. He's loose-lipped, and I don't think he's thought through his arguments at all.
But he's got a book to sell. It will sell. It's been, he has absolutely been running the entire publicity machine and indeed the broadcast and print agenda for the last week. The book's coming out tomorrow. It will make him a quid or two. It already has done. He's got a podcast and a Netflix deal that will make him a quid or two and already has done. Maybe that's the game, isn't it, Jennie? That you've got to trade with something, and this is what he's got to trade with.
Well, yes, I'm afraid that probably is the brutal truth. He says it's his story. Why are you? I've always asked, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? That was Tom Bradby's first question, because it's my story to tell. He said, well, Harry, stick to your story. But you've given everyone else's story and private conversations out as well. And you say there's nothing in this book was meant to hurt your family. He's tone deaf, isn't he?
Quentin, you remember the rehabilitation of Charles and Camilla. Mark Boland was the PR guy who was, I think, famous, the person who was doing it. That seems to be an issue for him, that he seems to have a sort of... that how Camilla and Charles were rehabilitated post-Diana seems to be a lingering wound for him.
Oh, he's got so many bloody issues. I mean, I just can't really care about them. And although Jennie says he's a likeable young man, I find it very hard to watch it without being struck by his hypocrisy. The fact that he's just using trading, you're just talking about here, he's trying to make money out of...
Well, what's wrong with that? He's got to make money, otherwise what's he going to do?
Well, it's okay. It's very fine to do that, but not to do it at the same time as complaining about other people trading on family confidences. It's just straight.
Could I say something about? Sorry, could I say something about Mark Boland and Camilla? Because this was very much my era, the rehabilitation, should we call it, of Camilla. Now, Harry has said she was dangerous. She was the villain of the piece. Well, yes, figuratively, she was the villain of the piece, the third person in the marriage. But I tried to court Camilla in those times. I wrote to her and I said, could we just sit down, have a little chat, maybe, as I did to Harry's mother, to Diana? And she said yes, and we did develop a relationship. Camilla wrote me the politest letter, but said, I'm so sorry, but I have no interest in cultivating any special relationship with any journalist. So that's my experience, Harry.
Yeah, that's interesting. But then again, Mark Boland was presumably working in the background to do something, because there was something going on there. There's definitely been a rehabilitation of Camilla and Charles.
And that's what Mark Boland was there to do. But what do you have a communications team for? That is their role.
Yeah, and that's the world in which they all live. Quentin, before you go, will you read the book now, or do you feel you've had all the details?
I will not burden myself with that. I'm reading a rather good novel about the plague at the moment, so I can continue with that.
Quentin's going to be sticking to a novel.
More wholesome.
Quentin's sticking with his novel about the plague. Jennie, do you feel you have to read it now? Or do you feel you've got all the details? You're going to have to read it, Jennie, aren't you?
Oh, gosh, I've got it on Kindle, Audible, and the hardback arriving tomorrow. I know. It's the burden of... And, I did reach this stage over the weekend when all this stuff was dripping, and when I thought, I don't care. I don't care if there was a cat fight over lip gloss. I really don't want to know.
Well, that's the risk, isn't it? There's a thin line between too much publicity and getting people talking. You've both been doing that brilliantly. Thank you so much this morning. That's Quentin Letts, the Times' sketch writer, and Jennie Bond, the former BBC Royal correspondent.